Hello, everyone, and welcome to Palmetto Sports Daily. Rick Henry in Columbia, and with me today, we've got Carmine Germain in Greenville and Kevin Bilodeau in Charleston. Now, yesterday we were talking about the difficulty, the Gamecock men's basketball team, the difficulty they were having making their three-point shots, just making 30% of their attempts, ranking 15th out of 16th in the SEC. Against Vanderbilt on Saturday, they missed their first 8 three-pointers. Well, they go down to the Bayou for a Tuesday night game, and the Gamecocks, they led by as many as 28 in the first half. They led by 25 at the half. One reason they shot 71% from three-point land in the opening 20 minutes. Elijah Strong came out in the first 5 minutes, was 4 of 4 on threes. He didn't attempt a three for the rest of the game. He finished with a game-high 30 points. But shades of Texas A&M and the Gamecocks in football when USC led 30-3 at the half and they lost. The Gamecocks saw their lead dwindle down to as little as 6 points, but they were able to pull away and win it to get their first SEC victory, 78-68. Here's head coach Lamont Paris on the ebb and flow of that game.
Just real proud of the guys and their effort. Fortunately, we got off to a really good start in the game because we needed it, and it was. I told as we came out into the second half, I told Michi that I said, "Hey, they're definitely going to make a run, so let's get ready when it happens, just to calm your guys down and continue to play." But I didn't know they were going to make 3 runs, all of which were good runs. So we burned and used the timeouts that we needed to calm the waters. And so just really proud that the guys then were able to regroup and make some good decisions.
So for the game, USC 12 of 21 on three-pointers, a little over 57%, which is exceptional. And they also snapped a 10-game losing streak in true road games. So they're 1-1 in the SEC. Last year, just a terrible season. Do you think we're seeing a turnaround here with the Gamecocks? But when you look at their schedule, it's going to be mighty tough again. Carmine?
Yeah, well, I mean, they don't have to turn it around much to turn it around and improve from last season, Rick, like you said, with a 2-16 conference record. In fact, they're already halfway to their conference win total of all of last year. But and we talked about just yesterday, Lamont Paris sticking with the three-pointers. Maybe he knows something we didn't, because then it turned that around, and all of a sudden they're making threes like crazy. I think definitely with so many new pieces, need a lot more time to figure out how much this team can gel and come together, because there's so many new guys from so many different schools. Elijah Strong obviously stepping up and cheering on his namesake playing strong with 30 points. The Boston College transfer looking great. But Kevin, I think we need a lot more time to tell what this team's going to be, although really, really good sign that they're able to and great comparison by you, Rick, to the Texas A&M football game. But thankfully, this Gamecocks team was able to hang on and earn a win that, Kevin, could provide some momentum heading into the SEC schedule. That's a gauntlet.
Yeah, there's momentum there now, and more importantly, there's a blueprint now for what they have to do going forward. I mean, all they have to do is shoot 71% from three-pointers for every game. And if they do that, I think they're going to be pretty good going forward. It seems like a logical explanation. Just hit your three-pointers over and over and over again. Rick, you mentioned a 10-game losing streak on the road in true road games. I looked it up last night after they got this win. Their last win away from Columbia before last night was December 4th of 2024. And that was when they went up to Boston College and beat Earl Grant and the Eagles at BC. So they went a full calendar year without winning a game on the road. I can't remember the last time I've seen anything like that, Rick.
Yeah, and the funny thing about it, Elijah Strong, he was a member of that Boston College team. So he comes and helps the Gamecocks get another road win. But, yeah, they're going to have to do better than that on the road if they want to compete in the SEC and also to have any shot at making the postseason. But a good win for them. And, they're not going to be that hot every night from three. But if they can do it every other night, maybe come close to that, then you got to like their chances because that does open up the court for the offense.
Yeah, and the three-point line's been one of the best places that Clemson has defended all season long. They're actually best in the ACC at defending the three-point line, allowing just 28%, which is exactly what they'll have to do facing a very high-powered offense, the number one offense in the ACC, going up against 24th-ranked SMU in the conference home opener tonight. SMU averaging 91 points per game, so a big Clemson contrast and conflict of styles where Brad Brownell wants to slow the game down, run that classic Clemson high-low action with two post players in the game at the same time, whether it's Carter Welling, Nick Davidson, or R.J. Godfrey, and get physical, minimize the possessions, defend that three-point line, not turn the ball over, which they're also great at, and they're number one in bench scoring in the conference too with 33 points per game. So a fun matchup here, but Clemson is on a losing streak of its own. As you see here, the Madison Square Garden video, they lost to 10th-ranked BYU. They lost to 12th-ranked Alabama at the time, and then last season they lost to a ranked Louisville team in the ACC tournament. So three ranked losses in a row, trying to snap that streak here tonight against 24th-ranked SMU. Kevin, what do you think about the Clemson basketball team so far? Because all these new guys, transfers coming in, but I have really liked, especially in the first two conference games for them, both wins at Syracuse and at Pitt, where it looks like they are figuring out their roles, dumping inside to the big guys, and Justin Porter just scored 21 points. That's the first 20-point game for any Clemson Tiger all season. So all these new guys, but it does seem like they are figuring out where they all fit into the equation.
It does seem like that. And, I'm really starting to think Brad Brownell might be one of the most underrated coaches in the country because we're starting to see with all this player movement every year and every team comes in with about 10 new guys each season, you're really seeing the coaching kind of take over and what the coaches put in and what they implement. That's really what's leading to more wins, just because the players don't have the cohesiveness. You're not going to see a team come together, at least not this early in the season like you would see in years past when a team returns 7, 8, 9 guys and they know how to play with each other going in. So it's really the coaching that kind of takes over a little bit more. And for Brad Brownell to have this team where they are, right on the cusp of being in the top 25, it just really speaks to what a great job he's been doing. Now, you mentioned the ranked losses against teams that are in the top 25. They really need to get one of these wins to kind of show that they belong in that top 25, and they're a team that not only deserves to be in the NCAA tournament, but deserves to get maybe a top 4 or 5 seed going forward, Rick.
Yeah, I agree with you on the coaching job that Brad Brownell is doing, not only this year, but during his entire tenure there at Clemson. I think he's definitely overlooked when it comes to the better coaches that are out there. And it is so hard with so much player movement of developing a team in that one season to gel and play as a cohesive unit. And he's doing a great job. And so, but yeah, he needs to start beating some of these ranked teams to show that, yeah, we are a factor, we can compete in the ACC, and we deserve a spot in the big dance.
Absolutely. And we mentioned Clemson in action tonight. A couple of teams from the Low Country also in action tonight. Charleston Southern, they're going on the road. Now, at home, they have been unbeatable so far this year. I believe the Bucks 7-0. 7 of their 10 wins have come over at the Buck Dome this season so far. Gotten off to a good start in the Big South as well. Tonight, they go on the road taking on Winthrop. And then the Citadel, who has really been struggling. They're still looking for their first victory against a Division I opponent from this season. They are also on the road tonight taking on Mercer at 7 o'clock. Bulldogs, I believe they are 3-12 on the season, and all 3 of those victories against Division II or lower schools. So Ed Conroy's team really struggling. I mean, this is when we talk about the cohesiveness. This is a dozen different guys coming in every year. And they're older guys because, a lot of the young guys don't want to go in and do the military stuff that they have to do at the Citadel. So it's really a struggle, especially for these older guys who are kind of more used to playing a certain way, to come in and change their style around to what Ed Conroy wants to do. But they're looking for their first win tonight against the D1 team and their first SoCon win when they take on Mercer later tonight. We're just getting going here on Palmetto Sports Daily. We've got more right after this.
Welcome back in to Palmetto Sports Daily with the crew here, spanning from the coast to the upstate, and we got news for all those different locations. We started with some men's basketball. Let's talk about some women's basketball, because the Clemson women's basketball team tomorrow, which would be Thursday at the time of recording, 8 o'clock, is hosting its first conference game of the year against NC State, and Sean Poppy in his second year has this team looking pretty good. Much more talent brought in, lots of key transfers, but one player he kept, even from his time at Chattanooga, was Raven Thompson, and she's coming off a 24-point performance, season high for her in the team's last win. They've won 6 of their last 7. Mia Moore right there is playing really well too. And they're looking good. Like I said, 6 of the last 7. The only thing that I have a gripe with is that Clemson men's basketball plays tonight, 9 p.m., then Clemson women at 8 p.m., so these late starts. But we can cover whatever comes up. We have to adapt just like these teams do. So, Kevin, I don't know how much you've followed the Clemson women's basketball team so far, but what do you think about Sean Poppy coming in from Chattanooga? He had 2 conference championships in the SoCon in 2 seasons, and all he's done at everywhere he's been is turn around the program. And it seems like Clemson has some momentum, I believe, with an 11-5 record so far, that this turnaround is not far away from what I've seen from this team.
No, this feels like the most momentum this Clemson program has really had in a couple of decades. And, you got to give Sean Poppy a lot of the credit, and his assistant coaching staff, Caitlin Grisillo, who's a Low Country native, a Bishop England alum, an assistant coach on his staff, someone we talked to a couple of weeks ago when Clemson came here and played that afternoon game against Charleston Southern. It's been really impressive to see what he's done. He's had a focus on bringing in the same kind of players he brought in when he was at ETSU, and like you said, that led him to a couple of championships. He's got to step up a little bit more because there's still a notch down in the ACC from where those top programs are. But this recruiting class that's coming in, from what I've seen, is a really good one. So it looks like they're kind of on the right track, Rick.
Yeah, I was going to ask Carmine, what's the deepest run the Clemson women have ever made in the NCAA tournament? I can't think of one. But to come into the state of South Carolina, where Don Staley has established a dynasty with 3 national championships, so everyone in the state is going to be looking at Clemson, comparing them to the Gamecocks. But yeah, they are earning some respect. And so who knows? Give Coach Poppy another year or 2 and he continues to improve. Maybe he can get the Tigers into the NCAA tournament, and they're making the Sweet 16. Maybe a threat to get to the Final Four, which would be great for the state to have 2 really good women's basketball programs.
Yeah, it really would be. I'm going to have to research that, Rick, while you talk about the Gamecocks' success and actually a little bit of a tricky situation with Dawn Staley using all those timeouts, which usually the South Carolina team's running away with these games, but that wasn't the case against Florida.
Right, and I knew right from the beginning against Florida, because Florida was playing an up-tempo style, not only looking to get out and run, but even with their set offense, operating very quickly, and I go, uh-oh, because Coach Staley has a short bench this year, especially with some people being out injured. Against Florida, 4 of her players played around 30 minutes or more, while Florida only had 2 players approaching that high number of minutes. And the Gamecocks, they were leading only by 5 with like 9 minutes to go, but they were able to pull away. And so the Gamecocks were kind of drained mentally and physically. And Coach Staley does something she rarely does. She used all of her timeouts. Let's listen to Coach.
I don't think I've ever used every timeout in a very long time. Like in a very long time. I'm not a timeout type of coach. I'm not. We couldn't function well without it. I think we were a little fatigued. I think we just needed to kind of reset and give them a familiar play, And I thought we came out of timeout and scored, and I was hoping that would be the play that actually give us the momentum to keep going. But sometimes it's just like you got to grind it out and win the game, no matter how it looks.
Yeah, and the Gamecock women are back in action tomorrow night, 7:30 at Arkansas. So we'll see how they respond after having a few days rest before they get into another SEC battle. Carmine?
Yeah, Rick, just to follow up on your question, Tigers fans will remember the dominant stretch that the Clemson women's basketball team had from the 1987 season all the way to 2002, in which they made 14 out of 15 NCAA tournaments during that span. But then, starting in the 02-03 season, they've only made one NCAA tournament since then in almost 25 years, and that was in the 18-19 season. So if they're able to do it this year, it'd be the first time since 2019 that they were able to make the NCAA tournament. But we are going back to football, the transfer portal, so we will disappear into the portal of this commercial break and reappear with some of that new news right after this. Well, the Tigers are no longer averse to the transfer portal because Clemson football has doubled its transfer portal total from last season to this season. They only had 3 transfers coming in last season, and already just midway through the transfer portal, they already have 6 commitments coming into the Tigers from the transfer portal, all of them on defense, and most of them defensive backs. And I'll go through these really quickly. Former Cal linebacker Luke Farrelly committing to Clemson, and he last season was the ACC Defensive Player of the Year, so that's a big one. Also, Penn State defensive back Elliott Washington II, and then you have 4 more all coming together. In Southern Miss safety Corey Myrick, Old Dominion safety Jerome Carter III, along with another defensive back, Auburn cornerback Donovan Starr with 2 R's, so hopefully he's highly rated with a capital R. And then up front, 1 defensive tackle, Courtney Kelly, to hopefully replace all the talent they're losing at defensive line with DeMonte Capehart, and also, of course, the highly touted TJ Parker and the All-American Peter Woods, along with Stephylan Green, who was a big factor at defensive line, who transferred to LSU, and then all the talent they lose in the secondary, even though the secondary way underperformed this year, but you lose former freshman All-American or Khalil Barnes, he went to Georgia. Then you have Ricardo Jones, who had those 6 interceptions to lead the team, and he's transferring out. He was second-team All-Conference, and of course the All-American cornerback Avion Terrell, who's going to the NFL draft. So, Rick, the transfer portal seems to be kind of crazy for the Tigers this season, but of course they need it to replace a lot of talent they lost and just the open roster spots. But Tom Allen, the defensive coordinator, working the phone lines, getting 6 defensive players newly added.
I know a lot of Clemson fans are happy to see this because I could really tell this year watching Clemson, and it was kind of shocking to me. I'm going, hey, you know what? These other teams look faster than Clemson. What? They're playing a more physical brand of football than Clemson. And over the past 45 years, that's what we expect from Clemson. Tough defense. You know you're going to be in a dogfight with them, especially at Death Valley. But when you see teams like Syracuse pushing them around at home, I'm like, uh-oh, Clemson, this is not your style of football. So it looks like they know that they need to beef up on defense, need to add some speed, some more athleticism. So this is a very positive sign for Dabo Swinney and his crew.
Yeah, I'm actually a little bit surprised about the guys that are leaving Clemson because Dabo Swinney's always made it such a point that he brings in guys who just want to be at Clemson. And that was his big thing that why he didn't want to bring in transfers was he wanted guys who picked Clemson from high school and wanted to stay there 4 years. So you mentioned Khalil Barnes leaving, you mentioned Ricardo Jones leaving. I was a little bit surprised by that, but Tom Allen, like you said, he's jumping right in head first into this portal and bringing in all he can. And Rick, South Carolina's been busy as well. I know they brought in a couple of linemen yesterday, and they're going to have to bring in a lot more to get that room filled with all the guys leaving.
Yeah, they picked up a big commitment from Purdue. A guy was like 6'5", 360 pounds, and has only given up one sack during his career. And you need to build that wall around Lenore Sellers so he can survey the field, get his passes off, and also open up some lanes for the running back. So it'll be interesting to see what that offensive line looks like come this fall. Okay, producer Nick, are we taking a break? All right, we'll be right back.
Welcome back to Palmetto Sports Daily. We wrap things up with some baseball today. It is still early January, which means practice for the college teams ready to start next week, and the pro teams getting ready for things as well as their season kicks off in just a couple of months. And the Charleston Riverdogs naming their new manager yesterday, bringing in former major leaguer Danny Mendick. Played about 200 games in the major leagues between the Chicago White Sox and the New York Mets. Had a good career in the minor leagues as well. Played some for Charlotte here, Chicago's AAA team. Also played in Birmingham a little bit as well. So a new manager for the Riverdogs, replacing Sean Smedley, who spent 3 years with Charleston. He led them to the playoffs twice, led them to a league championship back in 2023 as well. And people still have a chance to meet the new Riverdogs manager, Danny Mendick, at the Hot Stove Banquet coming up next Friday here in Charleston, with the guest of honor being Chipper Jones, the Braves Hall of Famer. I'll be hosting a fireside chat with Chipper Jones at this event, which, I mean, that right there is worth the price of admission going forward. So very exciting event, and the new manager will be there as well, guys.
Wow, what an opportunity, Kevin, with a legend, Chipper Jones. What are you going to ask him, or what are you thinking as far as the fireside chat direction?
Oh, I have pages and pages of questions I've got to ask. We've got 45 minutes to kill in this fireside chat. So I think I'm going to have to ask him about every year individually going forward.
Oh, that's great, Rick. Who's the coolest guy, Rick, you've gotten to talk to in a setting like that?
How about Hank Aaron?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's not bad.
Yeah, that was pretty sweet. Yeah, I'll tell you more about that later. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Palmetto Sports Daily. Have a great evening, everyone.